I met Raymond during my second year at university in Ibadan. He was everything a young woman like me dreamt of: articulate, successful, charming in a way that didn't feel forced. He worked as a regional manager for a telecom company and lived in Abuja. Our paths crossed at a wedding in Lagos, and the connection was instant, electric. We started talking regularly. Phone calls turned into video calls, and soon, into weekend visits whenever either of us could travel. It wasn't a fairy tale, no, we had our differences, but he always knew what to say to make things better. He had this way of speaking that wrapped itself around your soul, making you believe every word was laced with truth. Over time, he became a part of me. My friends would tease me about how often his name came up in conversation. Even my mother, wary of big men with smooth tongues, grew to like him. Or at least she said she did. One Thursday evening, while rain slammed angrily against the windows of my hostel room, Raymond called. His voice was tired but warm. "Baby girl, I miss you," he said. I smiled. "I miss you more." We talked for nearly an hour, planning our December getaway. I had never been out of Nigeria, but Raymond promised to take me to Ghana. He spoke about the resort, the food, the private beach, and how we'd spend our nights in each other's arms. The conversation drifted to lighter things: funny office gossip, his annoying driver, and my lectures that were slowly driving me mad. I could tell he was pacing. I could hear the soft shuffle of his leather slippers and the occasional sound of a chair creaking. Then suddenly, he said, "All right, love, I'll talk to you later." "Okay," I said, smiling. "Good night." But he didn't end the call. I waited for the beep. It never came. What came instead was a faint rustle, followed by the click of a door opening. Finally, a woman's voice snapped. "So you're done with your meeting?" I froze. Raymond's voice dropped into a tone I had never heard before, cold, dismissive, almost irritated. "Please, Adiz, don't start." Adiz? That name hit me like a slap. That was the name I had once seen on a baby's onesie during a video call. He had said it belonged to his niece. "You were talking to her again, weren't you?" the woman continued, her voice breaking slightly. "Do you know how it feels to raise a child alone while you gallivant across cities lying to both of us?" My heart pounded so loudly I was afraid they could hear it through the phone. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. "Lower your voice," he hissed. "Do you want the neighbors to hear?" "I told you, I'm handling it." "Handling it," she spat. "You mean you're still stringing that poor girl along while pretending this," her voice cracked, "this family doesn't exist?" Raymond was silent. Then came the words that turned my blood to ice. "She thinks you're single, doesn't she? You're even planning to take her to Ghana. Using the same dates you promised me we'd celebrate Adiz's birthday." I couldn't listen anymore, but I couldn't hang up either. My fingers trembled. My eyes stung with tears I didn't remember calling. Every second after that unraveled like a nightmare in slow motion. "You think you're clever," she continued. "But God is watching you, Raymond. Just remember that." The call finally ended with a click. I stared at my phone like it had turned to stone. My mind reeled. Adiz wasn't his niece. She was his daughter. And I wasn't his one and only. I was the other woman. Everything suddenly made sense: the strange gaps in communication, the missed calls at night, the weekends that got too busy, the odd, hurried mannerisms when I video called him at home. It wasn't just betrayal. It was manipulation on a level I hadn't thought him capable of. I was nothing more than a carefully placed chess piece in his double life. A well-fed lie. I spent that night curled up on my bed, unable to cry. My roommate came in at some point, asked me what was wrong. I shook my head. I couldn't speak. Not yet. The next morning, I blocked him. Phone. WhatsApp. socials. Everything. But even then, his voice haunted me. That other side of him. That venom he poured so easily into his wife's ears when he thought I was gone. It made me wonder how many other lies had I swallowed whole. How many truths had he wrapped in silk just to keep me smiling? I wanted answers. But more than that, I wanted peace. And peace didn't come easy when every memory felt poisoned. Days passed, but I was still stuck in that moment. I replayed every conversation, every lie wrapped in affection, trying to stitch the truth from the fragments he'd left behind. I told no one, not even my closest friend. I wasn't ready for the pity, the judgment, or worse, the confirmation that I'd been a fool. But silence is a cruel companion. On the fourth day, Raymond called again, not once, not twice, but 7 times. Then came the messages. Baby, please speak up. I need to explain. It's not what it sounded like. But it was what it sounded like. Still, something in me, maybe the part that still craved answers, gave in. I agreed to meet him at a cafe in Wooz. Neutral ground. Public. He walked in wearing that same confident smile, the one that once made me melt. But now it made my stomach turn. I didn't mean for you to hear all that, he began. You mean you didn't mean to get caught, I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. Raymond sighed. Listen, I never lied about my feelings for you. You lied about everything else, though. About Adiz. About your wife. His expression flickered. Ex-wife, he said quickly. We are separated. I scoffed. You mean emotionally or legally? Because last I checked, separated people don't fight about birthday plans for their child. There was a pause. He looked away. You used me, I said, my voice low. You manipulated me into trusting you. And for what? An escape from your messy reality. Raymond leaned forward, desperation creeping into his tone. I didn't plan this. I needed something pure. Something untouched by all the damage I caused. That's the problem, I said, rising. You think love is something you take to soothe yourself. You don't even know how to give it. I left him sitting there, still pretending to be the man I once adored. But now I saw him clearly, a man so afraid of his own emptiness that he built false worlds just to feel full. I walked home in silence, but something inside me had shifted. I wasn't just grieving a relationship. I was mourning the death of my own illusion. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't discovering a monster in someone else. It's realizing you ignored the signs all along. 3 months passed. Raymond faded into a ghost of the past, blocked, deleted, and buried beneath layers of healing. But healing, by land, isn't linear. It's not a straight path from pain to peace. It's messy. Some nights I still jolted awake with his voice echoing in my mind. But slowly, I began to reclaim myself. I dove into my academics. I started journaling again, pouring all the ache into pages that didn't judge me. I volunteered at a local community center on weekends, not for distraction, but to remember what honest connection felt like. One Saturday morning, while reading under the shade of an almond tree outside the center, a young woman approached me. You're Amaka, right? I looked up. She had soft eyes, but they carried something heavy. Yes, I replied cautiously. I'm Adiz's mother. The name hit like a cold breeze, but I kept my composure. I see. I just wanted to thank you, she said, surprising me. For walking away. I blinked. I didn't do it for you. I know. But you still did it. And that's more than most. She sat beside me, her voice steady. After that night, things changed. Raymond and we finally ended it. For good. Legally, emotionally. I'd been holding on to the ghost of a man I fell in love with 10 years ago. But when I saw how easily he could lie to both of us. Her voice broke. I realized Adiz deserved more than a father who only loved when it was convenient. We sat in silence for a while. Then she said, I used to think the other woman was always the enemy. But sometimes, we are just two women drowning in the same lie. Her words struck something deep inside me. In that moment, I felt no rivalry. Just two people who had survived the same storm. As she stood to leave, she turned and added, don't let this make you bitter. Let it make you better. That conversation stayed with me. It reminded me that we often carry shame for the things others did to us, for the times we believed, hoped, or loved blindly. But there's no shame in being human. Yes, Raymond betrayed me. But he also taught me something I never would have learned otherwise. To listen more deeply to my intuition. To protect my peace like it's sacred. To never accept half-truths disguised as affection. Sometimes, the most chilling part of a story isn't the lie itself. It's how long you lived in it, thinking it was love. So if you're watching this and you've ever ignored a gut feeling, if you've ever stayed too long in something that didn't feel right, let this be your sign. You don't need all the answers to walk away. You just need the courage to start.